Live here at Free Admission Studios, this is the Gym Crashers with our special guest, Andy Aguilera.
It's Aguilar.
Oh, Aguilar.
Christina Aguilar.
Aguilar. Yeah, forgive me. My Spanish is terrible. Don't beat me up, please.
He's Filipino, bro.
I'm actually half Mexican.
Oh, hey!
He's half Mexican. I did research. He's half Mexican and half Korean.
He's
Yes.
beans and rice.
Beans and rice.
That's the mix. That's the right mix, right? Good to have you, man. I was totally wrong, but, not as wrong as his last name.
But, hey, I just wanted to cut me in half because,
Yeah, he might for that one.
they might carry samurai swords in their pockets,
I could.
I haven't seen his sword, but if you have
Well,
it, your
Koreans
business,
don't.
buddy.
Koreans sound like ghosts when they talk.
This guy.
Well, you hear the Vietnamese talk, they speak really fast.
Do
There's
they?
a difference between Vietnamese, Chinese, and Koreans.
You've had all these different girlfriends,
Well,
and they have the different
Vietnamese
dialects.
talk very like da 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 ma, and then Chinese are hustle hoo, and then Koreans are ooh.
He's on a good one.
I'm just telling the goddamn truth. Living in Garden Grove and Santa Ana all my life, you deal with little Saigon, little Korean town, and Chinatown.
Joey's on a good one tonight. This is normally a fight-related show. We talk about everything to do with the fight life, but Joey brings in the egg rolls and the lumpias. And,
But I like the
right? Some
mix.
kimchi.
That's a cool mix. I never heard of Mexican and Korean. That's the first.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, for real.
I'm unique.
Right on.
Yes.
Right on. No, that's a good mix. I dig it. That's some fire. Right?
Yeah.
They got nuclear weapons over there. Don't mess with them.
It's in his pants.
Yeah, that's North
It's the other Korea.
I'm not the North
That's his cousin. Don't talk about his cousin. He's gonna send a bomb over here.
I feel you.
I'm North Korean.
I feel you. It's all good. But Andy, glad to have you, Mac.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing Andy in.
Of course.
Because, in this area, he's got quite a following, quite a name in the boxing world, and holding things down at Rosemead UFC.
Yes.
Love that, dude. Just good stuff. I see your Instagram, as most people do, and the work you guys are putting in is tremendous.
Thank you.
You know?
Yes.
And Mac coming back from Philadelphia, the
Yeah.
whole crew. These guys go out to Philly. I mean, it isn't all just King Taco, man. They get on a plane and they go across and they have Philly cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteaks, New York pizza, we did it all,
These
man.
guys.
We did it all.
It's a national thing, man. You guys
Yep.
are doing that good. That's awesome. So before I get into Andy's story, why did you go to Philly?
I went to Philly to compete in the Naga tournament. It's a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Naga. I competed in Naga.
Yeah.
I'm a Naga fighter.
went
It
with,
says Naga. I say Naga.
I went with my coach Laurent and a couple other homies of ours. We all placed. We all did really good, and we took the hour-and-a-half drive up to New York and just got to see the sights. And I've never been outside of California and Vegas, aside from like Louisiana and then driving back. So I never really got to enjoy anything.
It's a long
out there.
way, yeah.
So I went out there. I got to see things. Got to enjoy the sights out there. It was really nice.
And he looked like a world traveler to me. I'm seeing his Instagram. He's hopping on the plane, doing his thing. He's at the Rocky statue.
Yep.
Right?
I had to do it. I had to run up that statue. I had to do it. Yep. It
Living the
was,
dream.
Yeah. It was awesome.
That's the boxing dream, man. I don't care. Rocky may be a fictitious character, but it's an inspiration. We all grew up watching that stuff,
Yes.
which makes me wonder. Did you see it as a kid?
Yes, I did. All of the Rocky movies.
What'd you think? What was it? Is that like the pivotal point that makes you want to put gloves on?
Absolutely. I think the Rocky movie really changed the whole world's perspective on how boxing is a huge influence. It's like
Yeah.
before Rocky it was boxing, oh yeah, it's just another sport. You're just punching each other. Sometimes some people even categorize boxing as something more savagery,
They say
just
it's
a blood
brutal.
sport.
Yeah, you're right.
And then you would see Rocky coming out and say, oh, it's about honor, it's about pride. There's a backstory behind every single fighter, and they're like, oh, okay. I guess combat sports has a lot more meaning than just fighting, So yeah, I think Rocky was a pivotal point in history.
It was Rocky or Bruce Lee at that time.
Yes.
I mean, we know Bruce Lee was a real thing, but Rocky, man, he was something for everybody to look for. And the way they did those scenes, now it looks very fake to us. The combos aren't so realistic, but back then, and they admire him. He'd throw a punch. Oh man, he would admire that thing all the way home.
Yeah.
Man, he's looking at that thing forever.
Right.
And you see Apollo say, boom! It's like, oh yeah, I got this down. Your first day in a boxing class, and you do that, and then you're like, which one of y'all just did that? You know what I mean? You're admiring your punches. I'm like, yes, I do admire my punches. Don't do that. By the way, bring your hand back.
Right, like, oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? But yeah, I liked all those scenes, but yes, they're not very realistic looking back. I look at those movies now, and it's a little tough because the fight sequences aren't what. But modern day movies, let me tell you, right? The choreography.
Yes.
It's what it becomes a dance, you know.
I think we have like Bruce Lee to really thank for that. You know,
Yeah.
It's like oh wow, it's like it looks like actual combat. Like these guys are breaking each other's bones and everything.
Totally,
So, yeah.
totally. And the gloves. We have Bruce Lee to thank for the 4-ounce gloves. I know it doesn't have anything to do with boxing, more from MMA, but the adaptation of what he created for his style for Jeet Kune Do works today in the octagon, what we see on TV every Saturday night.
Absolutely.
So a true pioneer and the true godfather of what we know as mixed martial arts.
Yes.
Which really probably should have been what Jeet Kune Do was. I know that they're kind of on their own path right now, a lot of Jeet Kune Do guys, but I really feel like he may have encompassed everything.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I've read a lot of like articles and we've read books also.
Yeah.
With a lot of Bruce Lee's like students and also people that have really delved into Bruce Lee's research. They've really argued like, oh, it's like it is really the pioneered art of MMA, mixed martial arts.
I think so.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that statement.
Maybe they didn't have exposure to what we know as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now.
Right.
He had some grappling. There's even an armbar in one of those early movies.
Yes.
Right?
There
Game
was
of
an
Death.
armbar.
Game of Death, I think, one of them.
Yes.
But there's a real armbar. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I missed that as a kid. I didn't know what he was doing. But now I look back, I'm like, whoa. So it's a different thing. But Bruce Lee, an inspiration for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That's how I got into the whole strength and conditioning field because just like Miguel, I came from an amateur mixed martial arts background.
Yeah.
I also did kickboxing too. So the whole influence behind that was Bruce Lee. I was just a little boy. I was getting bullied. And my mother took me to a little kickboxing studio just to learn some self-defense. I heard the name Bruce Lee. It's, oh, who's Bruce Lee? And my master, sensei, was like, oh, look him up. It's like he's actually a very powerful figure in martial arts. So, okay, so looked up who Bruce Lee was. I'm like, oh, and I was amazed. Like, this 135-pound man who stands only like 5'8" was like destroying these Goliaths. And I was like, how? And he's super fast, super strong. So I was just inspired because I was a scrawny young kid. And it was like, oh, wow, if this guy can do it, like, I can do it too. So I was definitely inspired by that.
But yeah, one thing that is interesting is being that compact, having that much power. And the American ideology of what power was, especially back then, was the bigger, bulkier guys. But we know now that takes so much oxygen, they're not going to last one round. And Bruce is ready to go 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of amazing. So, yeah, we all learn something from that body type. And you encompass that lean body mass. So that is probably something you teach.
Yes, definitely. But I mean, with our exposure in strength and conditioning, we come with a lot of we've trained a lot of body types, and obviously we have to accommodate towards the heavyweights, the light heavyweights, the middleweights. These are people with a lot of like lean mass, and we've experienced that. So with that, like these individuals, they don't want to cut, too much weight because then they have to drop a weight class. Their whole goal is to compete and be a champion within the current weight class, whether it be heavyweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, middleweight. So with that, we have to organize routines to allow that muscle tissue, the lean muscle mass that they have, to utilize oxygen efficiently. And that's literally our job. So that whole question is like, oh, these big, powerful, burly men and women, they're too big, so they're going to gas out after one round. Well, that's our job. We make sure that they don't gas out in one round. They continue for 15 minutes, 20, 30 minutes of activity. So, yeah, that's literally what we bring to the table.
That's an interesting thing. So, yes, you can take the larger person, lean them up, maybe not so much lactic acid built up in their muscles, things of that nature.
Absolutely.
So they can go to distance. And is that a lot to do with diet and exercise? Or?
Oh, yes, both. We've experienced it, too. A lot of people claim, it's like I can outwork it. It's way too difficult because the influence with nutrition affects even lactic acid buildup. It's like if you have a highly acidic diet, you're most likely going to have a very lactic acid type environment when you work out. Not to say that you need to go completely vegan or just go alkaline all the time, because that's even detrimental to your body.
Yeah.
Because lactic acid is actually a necessity within your body to be converted to an energy component to explode. So lactic acid actually does have its purpose, but too much is that whole burning sensation that everyone gasses out to.
Okay.
So you have to have a balanced diet.
I like that because we hear so many fads, gosh, and they're very near the same thing: caveman, paleo, high protein, whatever it may be, and and then they move on to the next thing and the next thing and so on and so forth. But balance is even in the workout, you don't want to overdo it because then you burn out.
Absolutely.
Right? You can blow your ankles out, blow your knees out, things of that nature. So it really is a balance. But I like the way that you put it because it's so important for people to recognize that to get to their potential.
Yes.
Because that's the key. Not all of us are going to be, the Mike Tysons of the world. Sorry, Joey. Sorry. I know you're Mike Tyson. But not everybody is Mike Tyson. So you got to be the best you, I think, is the best you can be.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And you get a guy like, yourself that understands these steps that you take to get to that potential. I love that. And that's what this is all about. So you had a love for martial arts early on. What brought you to the fitness and the performance side of it, really?
Well, I was doing martial arts since I was 10 years old. I'm 33 now. I've competed all the way up to 25 years old. That's when I officially retired from competing. What brought me to the strength and conditioning field, initially at 17 years old, I had a severe accident, combat-related accident. I had a full rupture ACL on my left knee, and I had to go into surgery. At that time, everyone was against me because I was 17, so that's close to like 15 years ago. Back then, an ACL tear was like, oh, that's career-ending. It's like, you're done. And that's exactly what the doctors told me. It's like, well, you're 17 years old, you're so young, just pursue your academics, quit martial arts, quit competing. Don't be an athlete anymore.
Damn American doctors.
Like, really,
right?
yeah.
If you're
honestly.
in China, it would have been all different story. They would have hacked up a corpse and put it in.
Put a dead ACL in you.
Exactly. A freshie. This one's 2 hours old. Get it in there. He crashed on a moped.
Yeah, but literally, that's literally how the whole perception was, especially the communication of it.
I remember hearing those stories, sure.
And I was a stubborn kid because I was competing at 10 years old, and I looked up to Bruce Lee, I looked up to Rocky, and
Hell yeah.
It was just more of the fact that, you know what? No. It's like I'm 17 years old, I'm young. I was like depressed. I was like, there's no way I can stop. It's like you're telling a 17-year-old kid to stop being athletic. That's impossible. So I just did the whole research. I entered college. I entered Cal State University in Northridge, studied kinesiology, and started to look into the rehabilitation of it. And I just saw, like, all right, as I see football players, NFL players, like basketball players, they're recovering. So why can't a combat athlete recover? I don't get it. So I started delving even deeper into it. Rehabbed my knee myself. Got right back into combat sports and continued to compete without any sort of injury after that.
And no surgery.
No surgery.
Because the body will heal itself if you do the proper things and give it what it needs.
Yes, absolutely.
It's kind of amazing. I do believe that too, because the body will heal. I like that it brought you to something where you came to an understanding of where you could better yourself to. And then now you're giving back, because this seems to be the passionate thing in your life, is that you have all this knowledge.
Yes.
And now you can bring other people to that place. So that's an amazing thing, man.
Yeah, for Miguel and I, we entered this field with our own unique experiences that we had obstacles. We both had obstacles that really tried to put us away from the whole combat sports, but we decided to just, break through those obstacles. We refused to give up, because by the end of the day, it's like myself and Miguel, we're going to have the next generation of fighters come to our doorstep, and they're going to have injuries too. And they're going to tell us, like, well, so-and-so told me I can't. Can you help me? And absolutely, Miguel and I, we want to say, yes, we can help you. We can help you pursue your career in combat sports or whatever athletic sports is.
Yeah.
A single injury, it does not dictate your future. It really doesn't.
That's great. No, that's great. I've got some injuries I'm trying to overcome at the moment. Now, it's a different game when you're near my age bracket, but we will have a conversation about that after the show.
Of course.
My regeneration isn't quite the same as it once was, but yes. Even I've been able to overcome some stuff recently, even to get to where I want to be. So you speak the truth. I do know that the body does recover, and it is a discipline, but it is dietary. It is how you rest, sleep,
absolutely.
And then picking your right partners is really a new one for me, because you always just want to go. Oh, let's just go. That's what we're all taught to do, right? Ready to go, throw on the gloves, hit the gi, whatever you got to do. But having the right partners, and even in the younger folks, if they've got the right teammates, they can really turn into an animal.
Yep.
Right? That's
Absolutely.
That's the difference. You train with the wrong dudes, and they're burning you out, and then you're just going to hit a brick wall.
Yes.
Might not make it through a fight camp because somebody's spastic, and then you blow something.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, so I've really kind of focused on that. Who are the guys that have really helped me get, you know, to a corner and then turn that corner and then I'm at another level? Stick with those dudes. You know what I mean? I like that. So, how long have you been at UFC Rosemead now?
I believe it's been, let me see, it's 2020 now. I believe it's already been about 8 years,
Damn.
8 to 9 years.
That's right when they opened then, right?
Yes, literally.
So you've been there since that beginning. That's a crazy thing. So I can remember when they put it there. I remember they had the one in Corona. They got the one over here in Huntington Beach, came after that.
Yeah.
But then they came, you know, it seemed like everywhere. But, you know, there's a handful of them out there now. And that one especially, I think that the area of Rosemead, San Gabriel Valley especially, Amani, Montebello, those people were hungry for it. And it was the right time. Because there was a huge love for boxing, Mexican people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But then there's so much more to be offered. You guys have everything.
Yes, we do.
So what a great place for people to be able to see the other side of things, that it's not just boxing. There's other combat sports, and that it's okay to go to the ground. Because,
yes,
man, there has been that stigma that I'm going to the ground. Some dude. So I'm not that kind of. I'm going to put him out before he can put me on the ground. We know that's not the case.
Yep.
Division I wrestler is going to put you on your back, and then you can't box anymore.
Right.
You know, boxing is a beautiful science, and I absolutely adore every aspect of the game. But when you're laying on your back, you're no longer a boxer.
Nope.
You know? And I've heard so many times, I'll just put him out. Okay. Okay,
All
James
right.
Toney.
I remember that fight.
Right? I thought it would go different. It happened so quickly. I was like, oh, what did I expect? You know what I mean?
I honestly thought like Randy was just going to clinch him and just flip him over until I just saw the ankle pick. Like, that was it?
Yeah. It's so easy.
It's an ankle pick?
So easy, right? If you don't know what an ankle pick is and they pick your ankle up,
Like,
you're done,
they're
right?
done. I'm like, what happened?
And they don't teach that in boxing.
It's true.
Not that I absolutely think as a sport, a fighting sport on its own, it's a beautiful thing to watch all the technique that's involved. And it's a mandatory thing to have. Whether it be Muay Thai, which is a different form of boxing, you got to have the striking sports and then mix it with the grappling sports. However people do that to develop who they are, that's up to them. But man, each individual fighter that I look at, and we can see how the sport evolves, and we're seeing people actually using jabs in MMA, with something we didn't see in the past.
Yes.
You know what I mean? An underutilized punch. They didn't know. Maybe they didn't need it, but you know, you're seeing it now, and it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing, because it's a powerful way to gauge where you're at, especially in the beginning of the fight. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe I'm going too far. I got to ask them for all this information. Ask the experts. But in your teaching now, are you focusing primarily on the strength and conditioning? Are you doing boxing mixed with it? Is that how it works, or it depends on what the person needs?
For myself and also Miguel, within the strength and conditioning field, we do our best not to really interrupt the skill set aspect of it. Every fighter has their separate coaches, which
That's cool. It's specialized.
they should. Yeah, they always have to have a specialty coach. Strength and conditioning specialty coach, a boxing specialty coach, going into MMA, jiu-jitsu specialty coach. And I even have fighters, and we have fighters that they have like literally psychology, like positive psychology specialty coaches. Like we have fighters like that too.
I think that's a new thing for me to hear, but maybe because we hear it in golf, we hear it in other sports, the focus.
Yes.
Right? And to be able to tune everything out, because I have friends that have fought, and I've heard the girlfriend argue with him the night before.
Oh,
and
yes.
the friend, he don't look like himself the next day. And I'm like, dude, she left her at home. But how do you tell him that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that distraction 24 hours prior took his mind off the game. You got a striking coach, great. But if you don't have that mental health coach to get you to where you need to be to reach your potential, then your game's off.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that. I have a fighter that I won't reveal the name to for just non-disclosure. But the day of the fight, the fighter came in, and it wasn't one of my fighters, just a fighter that I know. Went into his locker room, and he was about to enter the ring. I believe like within 30 minutes, his girlfriend showed up, started yelling her head off into the fighter inside the locker room 30 minutes prior to the ring. Pure chaos. The coach just says, like, get get her out of here. It's like, this is a distraction. And she was not leaving, just yelling at the fighter. And the fighter was like, calm down, calm down. Finally got her out of there. 10 minutes, he was just completely stressed out. Entered the ring, got knocked out in the second round. He got knocked out.
Yeah, the focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy thing, but yeah, the mental aspect is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because we're moving so forward in the mixed martial arts game, we're figuring out all these little components that matter: mental health, rest, recovery, CBD. We got CBD guy in the house right now. You know what I mean? Because you don't want THC in your system. They're gonna test, so CBD is a big deal. Our Life, shout out to Our Life. But we didn't know these things not that long ago. These are very new things to the game, and the level at which you're providing the strength and conditioning is also something new, and maybe taken from other sports.
Yes, absolutely.
Because football, you have these guys running different drills and stuff, and now I see within MMA that it's similar and maybe more advanced versions of those kinds of things.
Yes.
Getting that fast twitch.
Yes, exactly.
It's pretty cool. Now, do you kind of come up with your own way of utilizing maybe stuff that you've seen in the past and reinvent it? Or you go with like a tried and true version of what's bringing people to the next level?
Well, I believe the last podcast that Miguel was in, he did express it that all these training methodologies is just a derivative of really like research that was already available. And a common name is Verkhoshansky.
Okay.
This is a Russian scientist back in the 1970s. This is Soviet Union times. And this is when Russia was taking over the Olympics, gold medals. I think it was like 4 Olympics that Russia just dominated. All their athletes had
I thought it was because they tortured people, but now I'm learning otherwise.
Possibly
No,
that
we
too,
didn't
yeah.
talk about this, but now I want to know. So yes, Oshansky, Russia, bringing this stuff forward. Tell me more about this. This is interesting to me.
Yeah, and this is back in the 1970s, and this is just methodologies that they've discovered and they've applied with their athletes, and it worked. It obviously worked. With the aspect that their athletes started taking gold from all the other nations and all of the Olympics. And these are track athletes, jumpers. These are like power-based athletes. So I'm like, okay, what are you guys doing that are making everyone more powerful?
Yeah.
So it's just really like dated research that has been modernized and has been applied to NFL and basketball. But it hasn't still been mainstream quite yet. There are other strength and conditioning coaches out there that are famous within basketball and also within football that have applied this methodology with a lot of success, but it still hasn't become very mainstream. And I think it's because you said it too, there's fads out there.
Yeah.
There's so many fads out there that's really just putting like interference within the internet, so you can't even tell like which method works, because this dude looks really buff and has a 6-pack and it looks like he's really strong and he has this routine.
Chick's hot, he's got a nice car, I better do that.
Yeah, it's like this guy has a Lamborghini.
That's how
It's like he
people
must be
think.
doing something right, so I'm gonna follow this routine right there. But in actuality, what we've kind of gone through is just really just research-based type exercises. These methodologies actually work. This will develop power. This will make your Achilles tendon stiffer, because if you want to have a stiffer Achilles tendon, there's more transfer from the floor up to your limbs, and more transfer to your limbs mean free energy. You won't get tired, and you have a much more powerful kick and a punch. These are all sciences, and these are all to the 70s, and it's all available, but yeah, for whatever reason, it hasn't really been mainstream. But I think it's just the fads. The fads out there is just enveloping the whole internet, and people can't really filter through things.
I'm blown away because I'm not even certain I asked the question correctly, but you did answer correctly and then took it to a whole nother level. I was not aware that they had that kind of science in the 70s. I knew the Russians were ass kickers. We knew that. That was
They still
obvious.
are. They
Yeah,
still
and they
are.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sambo, Jesus.
Yeah.
Fedor Emelianenko, what's the other guy?
Khabib, yeah.
That's Russian.
Monster.
I mean, it's still that whole area,
Yeah,
right?
it's
The same training methodology.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, they were onto something early. So I can see that's very, very smart for you to pick up on that. So that must have been those studies with kinesiology
Yes.
and figuring out who actually modernized that. And
Absolutely. Yeah, we are currently seeing this within like modern sports. Like I said, baseball, basketball, and football. It's just we've never really discovered anything in combat sports. And when I first studied, I was like, why is there nothing on combat? There's really little data, very little data. I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just take charge and just bring all these studies together, how we can keep it relative to the mechanics of punching and kicking and jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And let me just create some sort of system out of it that's most beneficial. A lot of trial and error, a lot of looking back and research. And yeah, this is where we're at right now.
But having that background that you have in tournament fighting, early on, that's a game changer. Because I hear a lot of methodologies, and I'm like, oh, what did you fight? Oh, at recess or something, outside of a bar. I get it, but it's still, you're fighting people that are not trained.
Right, exactly.
Okay, anybody can go fight at a bar. I get it. You're going to do well if you're trained. You're not going to do well if you're not trained. Or you might get lucky and break a pitcher over someone's head. But when there's a trained athlete in front of you within the same realm of sport that you're training in, then it's a different game.
Yes.
And then when you put yourself through that same test multiple times, then you can whittle down and come up with a concept for what will work or won't work.
Yes.
But too many times it's a guy that doesn't compete or never competed, and you're like, yeah, you're not qualified. And maybe, you're a fan of the sport. I get it. I'm a fan of the sport, but, probably best to learn to somebody that went to war if I'm going to go to war.
Right, absolutely. Right?
Just my thinking. But yes, it only makes that, basic sense. But I'm not picking on you, Joey Jesus. I don't care if you fought or not.
Say what?
Nothing.
Okay.
He always thinks I'm picking on him. He gives me that look.
No, he always picks on me. But
no, I don't. No, God loves you, and I love you too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love
Not that
too.
way. Don't get flirty with me.
Well, just in case you need a hug and.
No. You got long hair now, though. It looked kind of funny. You got gray hair growing out.
I know. I got to diet again.
Yeah. He said diet.
Yeah. Don't like the grays.
He's off camera.
I don't care.
It's all good, brother.
Yeah.
We love you, man. Getting back to it, we got Mac in-house, Mac Performance. We got Andy Aguilar in-house. They are both representing UFC Rosemead, in case you're just tuning in. But these gentlemen are bringing, a level of training, strength and conditioning, and then, of course, boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu to the game in the L.A., Southern California area that is different and new. And, if you're in the area, I recommend checking them out. You can find out about their stories here on this show and on the previous show we did with Mac about maybe a month ago or so. And he had the whole crew in. Now we only got a couple guys, but man, he rolls deep, as he did in Philadelphia. They packed the plane down. He brings the whole posse. I like that.
Just to clarify, the last 30 minutes,
Yeah.
this is what I have to live up to. Anywhere I go, you're Andy's boy. Yep. Now I gotta sound smart. I gotta know what I'm talking about. I gotta speak like him. I gotta sound like him. I gotta explain things like him. And I'm just happy that he took it all away. I'm just like, okay, go ahead and go ahead. You're giving me a break.
You do a great job, and since I've had you on, and I actually didn't know a lot about Andy. I'm so happy to learn. But he had, of course, talked about you. We know from other people, even Fran here said, hey, Andy's going to be there. Can I come in? I'm like, that's come in. Just come in, do your thing. So people love you, man, and I dig it. And I respect the props you're giving from the homies.
I mean, if it weren't for him, I definitely wouldn't be doing this. I feel like wherever I go, it's my duty to represent him in the way that he deserves to be represented. So I have to hold that to a high standard.
That's cool, man.
People think he's my son, and
I mean, do we
he
really
might
look
be.
alike?
He might be.
I cut the hair so the long hair doesn't match. He's a little darker than me.
I'm a little more tan.
He's a little buffer than me. The eyes, maybe.
The eyes and the glasses. I'm about to say.
Got it.
Yep.
It's
Little
like
father-son thing
run
going
a
on.
pho noodle shop up the street.
Papa Aguilar.
I dig it. You don't look old enough to be his dad, but okay. You're moseying around his neighborhood 10, 12 years ago. I don't know. Whatever it takes. Did you grow up in SGV?
I actually grew up in Northridge, so it's San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, the other valley.
The other valley.
Where they make those movies.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep. I heard those too.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's money in it.
I got story for days.
That sumo stuff we were talking about.
Right, exactly.
Don't let him fool you.
God.
So from Northridge, what brought you east?
Well, I was still competing in kickboxing and amateur MMA, and that's when I first heard of a UFC gym. Big fan of UFC, obviously.
Yeah. All of us.
So when I heard of a UFC gym that was being created, like, whoa, it's like, because, we only lived with like LA Fitness, Bally's back then, and 24 Fitness, like UFC gym. Like, what is this?
Yeah, you could lift weights, you can get on a treadmill, but you're not developing the fighter inside you.
Not at all. So I was like, I had to check this out, and it was a drive. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to go anyway. So I drove to UFC Gym Rosemead. And yeah, I just fell in love with the gym. It's like, oh, it has an octagon, has functional training equipment, and also has the whole recreational equipment, the bench press, the squats, it has everything. It's like, all right, I'm in. Yeah, I don't care the drive. I'm in.
Yeah. Classes, instructors, it just seemed like a no-brainer. It's a big operation now. It's strange. So we go back 8 years. You're starting there, and I thought the same thing. I thought, oh man, all the little mom and pop dojos are out.
Yes.
Because why am I going to pay 2 memberships when I can get my lift on, get my roll on, get my striking on in one shop? You know what I mean?
Well, really not to really degrade the mom and pop dojos too. It's like UFC Gym, that model brings about a whole new environment for the audience and for the public to train like a fighter and feel like a fighter. But obviously, I mean, with everyone's experience here, it's like to be like truly like you want to be a pro boxer, you want to be a pro MMA fighter, okay, you got to go to actually the specialty schools. Yeah, UFC Gym's great. It's really great. But you want to be a fighter, you got to go in there. You got to go into the BJJ schools, the Gracie Academies, everything, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. You got to go there. You got to go to the Muay Thai places, the Yard. And I know the Yard's a local one. You got to go there. You got to spar. You got to fight.
Saxon out there in the Northridge area.
Yeah, you got to fight. You got to fight if you really are serious about being a fighter. But yeah, I mean, the UFC Gym model, it brings something very unique that everyone can train like a fighter, and they look like a fighter and they feel like a fighter.
It's an amazing thing that you're so honest, because I was aware of that concept, and the way that you put it is accurate, in that it lets everyday people kind of figure out what is going on. You know what I mean? And get a little piece of it. But you're right, to take it to that next level, to really be, at the amateur level even. You're probably going to want to step in a more specialty shop.
I mean, the UFC gyms that I've seen, they do provide enough instruction to even proceed to an amateur level.
Okay.
Professionally, I mean, you could find some level. I mean, Miguel and I, like, we work with professionals.
Yeah.
Like, we have, like, Daniel Rodriguez, which is a professional MMA fighter, plenty of also professional boxers. So we do work with professional audience. And there's some gyms, UFC gyms, that they work with a professional audience. But really, to, like you said, to take it to the next level, to pursue a career, in combat sports, you probably have to look for the specialty schools.
Hey, there's no joke, man. Every UFC gym there are top-level fighters that are the instructors, such as, the gentleman sitting next to me, ready to go. You guys did your thing, you know what I mean? But there are UFC guys, too, Bellator guys, LFA, you name it.
Yes.
So we know that they're out there. But yes, I agree with that statement wholly. But I like the idea that the average guy gets to feel it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's kind of cool. And then you learn a few things and they become life skills.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So that changes you, I think. So everybody has to get, I really instill this especially in people that think that it's still brutal when they see UFC or even boxing.
Yeah.
And that, well, do you want your kids to be the only ones on the block that can't protect themselves against a choke?
Yeah,
they don't know enough to turn their chin and pull down? Because it really is just that. So however brutal it may seem, it would seem to be even more brutal not to know.
Right, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to be a sitting duck.
Yeah, I remember I had a client at UFC Gym Rosemead, just taught her recreational boxing. She's not looking to be a fighter, just wants to feel like a fighter. She went on a date one day, and the individual did some inappropriate touching, and boom, just threw a straight cross to his chest. She was actually too afraid to punch him in the face. I don't know why. Like, the dude's trying to touch you. Punch him in the face. It's okay. It's okay.
Don't touch the goodies.
Yeah, but literally just punched him in the chest, and the guy just backed off, and like, whoa. And literally the guy told her, like, you know how to fight? And she's like, yeah, I learned something.
And I'll stab you too.
So
that's just the beginning.
So, Dondo, where did this take place?
Well, everywhere I go.
So absolutely life skills. Yeah, it really is life skills.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing, and I know it becomes just a part of your reactions. It should. If you're training that hard and you're no longer thinking, you're just reacting. Exactly. And that's certainly what happened to the young lady who probably didn't even realize
she just threw a straight cross.
It's going. And then she's like, oh, we're not in the ring, but hey, you're going to get another one in about a second. Can't cross that line,
Absolutely.
And I respect that. And yes, young ladies need that. I made my daughter, I shouldn't say made, I brought her here into this lovely dojo by accident about 10 years ago. And at the time, there were no girls, maybe one. when she was training. And my instructor had taken a liking to her. She's a little talker, and he made her train for about a year. Not made her. He actually helped her fall in love with not only jiu-jitsu, but at the time we were striking, elbows, kicks, everything, all integrated into MMA. And she learned it all until she found a boyfriend, and then I lost her completely. So she was like 12, 13, and then 14 hit, bam. Yeah, that was cool, Dad, but I'm out. But at that age, they absorb so much.
Yes.
So now, I mean, you can't even mess with her on the couch because then it just right away, like, hey, I didn't know you remembered that stuff. You know what I mean? It's automatic because it's something about being, older and you can't absorb. But kids, man, you put a little bit of that in them and they really take it and, becomes part of who they are. So I'm glad that she had a solid, maybe year and a half even.
That's
and we
good.
were doing 5-6 days a week. So that was my life. You know what I mean? If we were open 7, I would have came on the 7th day. And it was just me and her. I was going through a divorce, but she got the best end of that. And I think that was really, really a good foundation for her as a young lady.
Yes, that's
Do
awesome.
you guys help kids a lot, or are you really just dealing with adults?
No, we do help kids too. We have a lot of amateurs within our stables. Myself, I have a few. I wouldn't say they're kids. They're like 18, 19, 17.
It's young,
but
yeah.
they're amateur boxers trying to enter the Olympics because obviously the Olympics being pushed to 2021 now.
It's the time, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely help the kids in strength and conditioning. I know Miguel more delves into the skill set, so I know he is also helping out within the amateur levels too. But yeah, absolutely, we do help out the young athletes of the world, and we want to make sure that they are successful in their careers.
Is that something you guys kind of have your sights set on, is the Olympics right now with some people?
Yes, with a few of the young ones.
That's a
yeah,
big deal,
huge
so
one.
tell me. I want to know.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely a huge one. It's just something where I had an interesting question told to me. What was it? I think it was a few weeks ago. One of my clients asked me, is like, what do you think is better on the resume? A world championship belt or like a medal in the Olympics? And I was honest. I said a medal in the Olympics.
I think so too.
Yeah, because of the fact that the amount of training and what's required from these young athletes to even place or even make the Olympics.
Top in the world.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like you have to beat everyone from every nation, the best of the
The
best.
percentages of people that medal is so minute.
It's
right?
just super small. So I'm like, no, absolutely. It's like someone that has a medal in the Olympics, way more valuable than a world champion. Not to degrade a world champion, but a medal in the Olympics is hard. That's really, even just to get, even to be said like, oh, even if you didn't medal, you're still an Olympian. You made it there. So to be an Olympian.
Super respected, super global, recognized everywhere.
Yes.
That's why when you brought up that, I was like, whoa. And then I saw an announcement today. Breakdancing, surfing, skateboarding, and one other,
I heard
climbing maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they're all
interesting.
going to be a part of the 2024 Olympics, which are all things I love. And I'm like, whoa. I think it's so important. I don't know that anybody's done. I mean, I know I've talked to some people. Grip training with the gi. The climbers that I have met that do both, forget it. The chokes are so deep and they're so intense that, they're going to pop your head. You feel like you're a pimple.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that type of thing, I expect to see more of the climbing stuff, and rappelling, and because you're dealing with ropes. And it's the same for the grips with jiu-jitsu. So it's like, it's a dangerous cross-training right there.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're integrating different things that you do to assist in the other things that you do, it's kind of crazy.
Well, this morning I heard also that for the Olympics, they're actually introducing breakdancing.
I said that.
So-
Thank you.
Oh, I'm just sorry.
That's okay. That's what we call rolling too sometimes, is
Yeah,
breakdancing.
sorry.
But yes, no, I think it's awesome. Robert, were you a breakdancer when you were a kid? No? I thought you told me you spin on your head, do all that shit.
I was a b-boy.
Were you
Oh yeah.
a breakdancer?
Windmill, the worm. I mean, if I can clear this room up, I could do it right now.
You if he did it right now, he would clear this room up.
Bust the windmill. Give me a big cardboard, dude. I can do it right now, brother.
Oh man.
It's cool.
You need some oiling.
little bit of Herbie Crank.
You need linoleum and oil.
I think you're the only one old enough because it went big like 85. I know it. Everybody else probably had opportunity to learn about those kind of things, but that's when it went big. Run DMC,
Yeah.
Doing their
Big old
thing,
boombox,
right?
cardboard on the floor.
85.
Did my thing.
Maybe you're old enough. Barely, huh? Do you? Sean Lerma in-house. Our Life CBD breakdancer boy. Oh, good. Did you do a little dancing when you were young?
I was a break dancer. when I
Oh,
was a kid,
dude,
yes.
why did I even guess? You got that, yeah. Well, that footwork, right? And you got to be loose with the hips. If you're a fighter and you're rigid, they're going to catch you.
Yes.
You're going to telegraph. It's just ugly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think a lot of that dancing and having that swagger is a good thing.
No, absolutely. Yes, definitely, absolutely.
What do you think about boxing right now? We got a lot of talk about Jake Paul because, you know, he did a big knockout. Clearly, he needs to fight a more formidable opponent. Not to take anything away from the guy he knocked out, but that seems to be the big talk.
Why only MMA, but also the art of boxing, along with jiu-jitsu and everything? But it's like with boxing, it needs to be an industry where every fighter, if they really want to like just be the next superstar, they need to be a little bit focused within content creation. Just be out there, not to say like be like a jokester and throw gags out every single post, but be a little more creative. Just be more socially active. Be out there in the community. I mean, once again, it's like not a popular opinion. It's always a 50-50, but like look at Ryan Garcia. It's like 50% of the people hate him, 50% of the people like him. But it's the fact that
they all know who he is.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And look at where he's at right now. He's going to be headlining a main event with what was his name? I just forgot.
Shoot it to us, friend. You know who it is.
That Olympian.
Luke,
yeah, Campbell. Yeah, it's like he's headlining a main event card against an Olympian that was also a former champion. It's like he got there not just because of not because of his speed, but also his following. It's a social media presence.
Yeah. No, I hear a lot of talk about Ryan Garcia. Now I want to see how that works out.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if you have no interest in combat sports, just the fact like, oh, yeah, I heard of Ryan Garcia. Oh, yeah, I've heard of Logan. Oh, they're fighting? Sure, I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
That's literally what the audience thinks. Oh, yeah, I want to see how it plays out, so they'll buy it.
That's the American public.
Literally.
And we're all bored sitting at home, so we need something.
Especially with this pandemic, right? Yeah.
Give it to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's all social media, really. I think, and I've tried to, like, really tell, like, even, like, the fighters within my stable, and I know Miguel with his fighters in his stable, is like, just be a little more social media active. Just a little bit. We're not asking for you to be the next influencer. We just be a little more active. And sure enough, with a bigger presence, the promoters see it, the audience sees, oh, we want to see this guy fight. Oh, he's somebody.
Great advice, and I would take it a step further. The sponsors will see you. You're looking to get paid. This is what you want to do. If it's going to be what you want to do without having that side job at Wendy's, get on social media, get yourself noticed, do podcasts, talk shows, interviews, because that's what gets your name out there, right? And get yourself some kind of, brand of some sort where your name's on it.
Yes.
And be a part of that, because being a fighter is essential to what you're doing. That's what it's about. But there's a bigger portion to the professionalism of the game, and that is selling it.
Yes.
Once
again, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's entertainment.
I hate that, but it's so true. The same can be said for musician friends that I have, surfer friends. At the end of the day, they're all just entertainers.
It's entertainers.
And if you're not selling it, you're not working.
Yeah.
You can be the best at what you do, and you're not going to work. And that's a tough one.
Yeah. It's not it's definitely not a popular opinion, but it definitely doesn't take away from the skill set, the hard work that all these MMA fighters, they put into, all the boxers, they put into, they work hard, they enter the ring. They're still fighting another human being, and this human being is trying to knock you out. So, they're still putting their livelihood and their health at risk every single time.
Dig it. Hey, we're coming up on the clock here. I got Joey the Bull. He has got a segment that we bring on. Before I leave, because I want to give a big thank you to the homies. They brought me a cool sweatshirt. I'm on my way down. I'm looking different from last time you already saw me.
Definitely.
So
that's why
I'm
I get you a size smaller.
I like it. Christmas time seems to fit perfect. Joey said it looks like a wetsuit. Joey wouldn't fit in this thing with his pinky. But that's okay. I still love Joey. He's going to come on, do his thing, talk about what's new with Joe. But please stay tuned, because we got Andy, we got Mac, we got all the homies in here. I don't know if you guys are going to come up, because the way these guys roll, they bring up the posse. So I know I'm just expecting, even Fran. We got Francesca Dominique in house. Adam Araby coming back from God knows what kind of sickness. You know what I mean? Joey, don't drop your mic. Hey, it's Joey the Bull coming on.
Let's go give Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Tag team in.
Speed him in.
Tag me in, coach.
Yep.
Oh, man. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Your name?
Pablo.
Pablo. And the guy didn't speak last week. How you doing, bro?
Good. Good, how
Like, you know, honestly, last time this guys on the show talking about life and stuff, and I'm like, so how's everything going?
are you? You caught me off guard. That's what it was.
And then of course, you know, talk about his dad's age. He got it incorrect last show. He's like 32.
He's 49.
49. See, now you guys are correct. Now, I've been doing this new segment. If you haven't catch any of my stories or all of my Instagram pages from story 1 through, I think I have 3 today. I'm doing number 4. If y'all don't know, I'm actually getting some surgery done on the 29th of December. That means I'm getting the sleeve. That means I'm going to be cutting the 3/4 of my stomach. And then within probably a year, I'll be shrinking down, looking like all you sexy pieces up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'll be flexing. This shirt will be loose. You know, just do my thing, you know?
You have to do
And it's crazy because right now, starting next week, which I'll explain in my story, is that next week I'll be strictly on liquid and probably yogurt and salad only. That's until my surgery. Until my surgery date. So you don't be around me when I'm farting because that protein farts stink and, you know, it might, you know, my little something might come out and shouldn't be coming out.
Yeah.
So someone's gonna be tossing salad. You know what I mean? This is another Joey the Bull update. So, because I'm gonna be pretty much on liquids, salads until my surgery date. So my surgery date is like towards the end of this month, and then from there it's gonna be crazy. Life changes for me are gonna be nuts. So yeah, stay tuned. It's Joey the Bull giving you a quick update what's happening before my surgery. Late. That's right, it's about that time. Little TikTok, little best of TikTok. Videos I like. Let's give it hell, baby. Joey the Bull.
There were nights when the wind was so cold that my body froze in bed if I just listened to it right outside the window.
You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Now get ready for... I'm not gonna say it.
I found some wild glizzies. Oh!
That last one was killer. Oh my god. You good, bro? Cool.
Say you want someone. I think I got the twist of my whole mentality. This girl, she got mixed personalities. One day she's happy, then she mad at me.
I may look like a potato right now, but trust me, bitch, one day I'm gonna be a french fry and all you motherfuckers are gonna want me.
That's right. I may look like a potato now, but I'm gonna look like a french fry soon. You want to dip me in all the sauces, you know what I mean? Anyway, so
tell us a little bit about your story, man. Like, what do you actually do for these guys, the team?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I'm part of the Gil, and I train with Mac. So he'll tell me, "Oh, put the pressure on these guys. Like, we're about to go to camp."
Mm-hmm.
And I train with Mac for like years already, and we like collab a lot. So I feel like I'm part of it too. Whatever, back before.
There you go.
You know, but I'm always like, "Hey, bro, you need any help? I'm there." And he hits me up. He he's my neighbor. He got introduced because of me, and they got into it. You know.
So are you kind of like a drill sergeant when it comes down to getting these guys warmed up? Do you make them like work out so hard that they're thrown up in the trash can?
Nah, not like that. No, I'm the guy that comes in and like, so these guys fight within each other and they do good. So, but it's not a choose, like you can't always win. So he puts me there and like he'll be like, he keeps doing this, and then I'll be like, all right, so make him not do this, and and then I'll be like, okay, so I'll start doing what the opening is, and
so you kind of basically show him like technique.
Yeah, and then what it is, because I'm that guy that you're gonna fight at that place, you know, like that guy's gonna go hard, you know.
Yeah.
And I try to like, and these guys are all my friends. I mess with all these guys. They're all cool.
So
can we cuss? Can we cuss?
Yeah, I'd say fuck him up. I when you met this guy for the first time, I mean, has he always been quiet?
When I kicked it with him, we were always cool with each other. No, when I hang out with this guy,
he's all shy right now.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I met this guy first, he was like, "Yeah, I fight and this and that." I was just like, "Me too," and we that's how we connected. Until other people started telling me he's cut, I started seeing it. But with me, he's never. Well, we're neighbors, so I never see that. He's like, because he's known me the longest. I guess he's opened up to me. Like, we know each other.
So he's like a chatterbox.
With me, but when these guys say, "Oh, you don't talk," I'm like, "What, Brandon?"
Because I can imagine this guy on a date, all quiet, watching a movie like this, all all quiet. It's a different story.
Dating's different.
Needs some inspiration, huh?
Inspiring him, bro.
Dude, if you need a coach, bro, I can help you out when it comes to that.
Oh no, Brandon is A1.
I need a coach to help me speak a little more.
Yeah, it's not that hard. You just gotta project. You gotta not be shy. You gotta just show your cojones, show your balls off, brother. Don't be afraid to speak your mind.
Oh, who has one? He's explaining.
Well, the story. Okay, well, everybody knows the story. You know, I have one ball, but I'm still the man.
You have a kid?
I have a daughter. That's all that matters. It did its thing. With one nut,
you did work.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes like don't. But just that's the way it works.
It happens.
It's like a wrecking ball, brother. I always tell people it's like a wrecking ball.
Oh my man.
Yeah, but it still works. He's just seeing me in the Speedo, just like boom.
Oh, it's perfect. You're the good.
It's like I'm going bowling every time.
You count the kind material.
So now back to your silent partner over here. Ever since our last show, what have you done lately?
I'm coming back from an injury because I had a slight tear on my ACL. So for a couple of months I was out. So I just been like re-healing, getting better, going through physical therapy.
Yeah. And
just training more, and we have a fight in January in Mexico actually. So I'm getting prepared for that to come back, and Miguel has been helping me really, really thoroughly and getting me prepared for that. So pretty much I've just been training day in, day out, trying to get back into it. Because at the time I wanted to stop because it like kind of got to me.
Yeah.
But I had to just dig deep. Luckily, I have all my guys around me because they help me, They help me get into the mind state of wanting to continue. So it's been a battle, but that's pretty much what I've been doing is just fighting the battle.
Yeah, that's all you got to do, man. It's a lot of it's I think it's all mental. I think when you get injured and all that stuff, it eventually heals. But at the same time, you got to take that whole that bullshit out of your mind, thinking that damn, I got injured, I got my leg hurts because I go through that shit every day, just walking up the steps.
Yeah.
And I make it here and I'm happy. I mean, I'm maybe out of breath and whatever, but sooner or later I'm not gonna be out of breath because I'll be losing that weight and
French fry.
I'll be a French fry. Are
the steps getting easier now because you seem lighter?
Oh yeah, no. I've been. I know. Remember when I first? It was like a dude. It felt like it was all titties. I mean, look at that. I mean, shout out to my boy, the Raging Bull, out there. I see him out there fighting, shooting at the gun range. He's going crazy out there right now. It happens, But anyway, so during all this crazy, now that our great old, I hate to say, the person in charge of California is getting ready to, shut everything down. Now, you guys been dealing with that crap lately, the gyms and stuff.
Well, it affected me, Mac, Andy. Not like affected, but like the flow. It affected me because I'm out of there. I'm like more of a fighter, and jiu-jitsu, you already know, out the window. You got to do your own thing. Yeah. Andy made it work. Mac made it work. But still, it's outside. So they're making it work, but. Mm-hmm. How it is like official with bringing in a random dude from over here, jiu-jitsu guy over here, Muay Thai guy, and you could bring him in the octagon, and you could do your like masterpiece better. Now it's like, oh, we gotta watch it with this guy, gotta watch it with that guy. Certain times, whoever you could grasp on now, like whoever could help, like it helps, but. Everybody's doing it, like I guess.
So when you're at the gym, you look at somebody like Andy, great physique, the guy, Bruce Lee. Yeah, I mean, he has trap for days. I'm looking, sitting in the interview. I'm like, damn, look at those traps. I mean, I got traps too today because it just they're trapped underneath all this, but they're all there. I'm a buff sucker too, but under all this goodies, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, when you see something like that, do you try to like get motivation and then getting like as big as this guy? I mean,
honestly, I don't know if Andy remembers, but like when I was a rookie too. I've been 4 years right there. I would ask Andy stuff like, "Hey, what's up? You look good. How you get?"
You look good.
hey, he's doing it.
It's all good. Hey, I look good.
Hey,
that's all good. Hey,
you said it.
I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, I think I just think this guy has a great my facial body. Kid, I'm like, oh, look at that beard,
but like, and I said it like that. It's not like, oh, you're looking good. I want that right here, like
Yeah, I mean, I want that too, man. I see this guy coming with his shoulders like he's wearing shoulder pads, like he's playing football or something. It's all natural.
I would even ask Andy too. You know how he said he had like pro boxers and stuff, like amateur boxers. I'll go over there and like, cause I'll be in the octagon, Andy be right next to me in the turf field. Yeah. I'll just go up to Andy and be like, hey, could I talk to some of your? Yeah, go for it. And I collabed with some of them because of Andy. I did like amateur rounds, sparred with like good boxers, and sneaking into Andy's camp. Like, hey. I never interrupted, but like I still want my work too.
Yeah, you still want to get hit and just see how it feels. You know, I mean,
and then Andy has a variety of boxers,
and I love that. I love getting him. What's that say?
Big boobs, nice.
Who is Big Boobs?
Who knows?
Hey, what's up, fan? What's up, Big Boobs? must be his fan page over here. The quiet guy. So I love the titas.
Because of Mac too. He let me go to the CMB boxing stable.
How was that?
Oh, you want to get the real work? There's no play right here. This is like the real deal, right?
It's like a real fight.
Damn.
You ain't sparring.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not sparring. You're going like 100%.
Yeah.
If you get hit, you get hurt. It is what it is, right?
You've seen a lot of blood there.
Yeah, that's what I believe. When you spar in the ring, you want to spar with somebody very light, but if they hit you hard, you want to hit them back harder. Let them know what's up because
it's the rule.
It's the rule, man. I mean, have you been like really hit hard to like do what the fuck?
Oh yeah, but I'm gonna tell you like this: the hardest guy to ever hit me is I never been hit like that before ever in my life. Besides my coaches, Laron and Brandon, those guys would destroy me. But like by a regular dude, he spars with us. Daniel Whitney, that guy fucking cracked the shit out of me.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he cracked me.
Why? Were you just toying around and he just decided to wake you up?
No. It's just like I move a lot, I guess. And you if you don't move, and that guy's like, look at me, like one's cracked by him. He's a heavyweight. Yeah, so.
Oh, heavyweight.
Yeah, and. No, he got me, so it's cool. Like but from right there, you learn like, oh, in this type of scenario, don't be doing stuff like that. You know, like
Yeah.
So it's, you live and you learn.
Yeah, you don't fuck around, man.
No, because I sparred with a lot of guys that are my weight, so I was doing stuff that I was doing stuff on him that it was for lightweight. Like I was moving on him, like yeah, and then he would just be I got clipped.
You just made me flinch.
Yeah. Oh shit, my bad.
That's all good. It's like it's all good. No, I just brought back memories.
Your diet?
I started No, what's that?
Boobs.
What is it?
Love you, three handsome heroes.
Oh, hello.
I get it from
Look at
him.
that. Look at that. I'll show up my titty. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah. It's all man right there. Look at he's just flexing over there. You guys got flex too, bro. Big boobs. They got big boobs, big fans out there. Now, what about you, Silence? Have you been hit hard and
Yeah, I've been hit hard. I would say, honestly, sometimes I forget when I fight. I don't remember stuff, but I've been hit, I would say, by, I think this guy, we were in the park one time.
Oh, shit.
And we were training, and we weren't supposed to go kicks, but he kicked me in the face.
Oh.
And I kind of went into it, but I remember then I just went back and I was like, oh shit, like I went a little blur.
Damn.
But that's the hardest I've ever been hit.
That's crazy. No, I've been hit hard. There was this guy I sparred with named Aaron Brink, old school UFC fighter back in the day, and I was lighting him up. I was hitting. No, not Aaron Brink. It was yeah. No, I was lighting him up.
Okay.
No. I hate bringing up old stories, but back in the day, I was weighing like 220. I was a sexy beast, and I had fast hands. And me and my brother, honestly, I had fast hands, and I was tagging this guy. Those fucking fast hands. Telling you, fast hands. Man, tortillas all day. Look at that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I was just tagging him the same spot. And then the problem is I was busting his ass open. When he realized I was making him bleed, he did a big old like a gorilla punch, boosh. And I'm like, whoa! And I started tripping balls, right? So I took off my gloves. I was getting ready to get crazy, and this is when it was at Ultimate HB when you had Razor Rob was taking care of the place and Tito, and they had to separate myself and I think it was Aaron Brink at the time. I was about to beat the shit out of him because I was lighting him up. It's not my fault. You keep your arms way out because, like I said, boxing at the time was just getting introduced to MMA because a lot of MMA fighters at the time fought real wide, whereas a boxer myself back in the day. I fought him real tight, tag all day, hitting that same spot over and over again until I cracked his ass open, made him bleed, and then he tried to knock my ass out, that son of a bitch.
With the slugger.
Yeah. That's all. And honestly, luckily he had Razor Rob and Tito over there because it would have been a different story.
I took a picture with Razor Rob.
What? I was going to say, do you remember that feeling?
Do I remember that feeling? Yeah.
Do you remember what it felt like?
No, I remember what it felt like. It pissed me off. That's the reason why I took off my gloves, because I was going to black out and beat the shit out of this fucking guy.
No sportsmanship for your partner, your training partner?
No. He hit me hard first.
That happens.
No, but because I made him bleed. I cut him open because he wasn't covering up. And I wasn't hitting him hard. I was just getting that same spot over and over and over. You want to tenderize until it breaks open, and I made him fucking bleed.
I know
bitch.
I know what you mean because like you're going like technical, right? You're going like it's not my fault. You're running in. But then he comes with the overhand like a slugger.
Because he's pissed because I'm making him bleed.
Because that's the
dirty.
only way that. But also too, you gotta like understand too. Like you gotta relax. You're making him bleed, so he's gonna go at you.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens.
It happens, bro. It's the boxer slash wrestler in me too. Because I'm a big fan of wrestling. I'm pretty sure if y'all watch WWE. I go nuts and crazy. I watch that shit still to this day.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, I love it. Roman Reigns all day.
Roman Reigns.
So anyway, please subscribe to our channel to free admissions, gym crashers. Please look up our sponsors. Our Life CBD in the house. I think their logo was up here somewhere. Yeah, Our Life CBD in the house, and Always Ready Meals. Arm, check them out. Their meals are great. Check out his site, Always Ready Meals. Next up, we got Francesca. Francesca's in the house. Okay. You guys come back in.
I was a sick podcast right there, bro. That shit was funny as fuck. I don't care. That was legit.
Good friend, you're over here. You're blending in with the background.
I know, that's why I was. Oh, wait, is this a commercial?
Yeah.
Where do you want to sit?
I can sit here. So I can
There
see
we
both of
go.
you.
We're on.
Really?
Really?
Oh, this isn't that bad.
I give you a hug.
Hi, how are you?
That's some history. What's up going on with that?
I'm always excited to see people. Come on now.
Oh, all those muscles. Jeez.
Jesus. Joey Myers. Where'd you get those muscles?
Where'd you get those muscles? Did you pay for those?
Did you pay for those?
I should add Brandon and Andy right here, the two buff guys.
Oh, Mikey.
Closer?
All right.
You're good.
We're all good?
Hit it, Francesca.
Okay, well, I was just saying earlier, the gang is back together again. I was so excited. I was like, I have to come through. When you were telling me about it, I was like, okay, I gotta come through to this one. But yeah, it's so awesome to like see you out and about and like getting credit for a lot of the stuff that you do and the ideas that you put out there. Like, I don't know, even from the first day, shout out to Daniel Whitney, who was mentioned earlier. He like put me together, you know, with Andy, and then from there I met everybody else, and it was just like so much dedication, and we like walked through like all the different phases. And when you were mentioning earlier, like that Russian dude, what was his name?
Ferguson.
Yes, that person. I have like a whole like thing on YouTube actually dedicated to those three phases, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you go over that at the beginning or at the beginning of this? Because I kind of missed like the first couple minutes.
Oh no, we briefly just talked about how the system was developed, but we didn't go over the three phases at all. No.
Okay. I know right now, like, okay, especially like Daniel Rodriguez, right? All of his fights are like short notice. People are changing.
Right.
You're like, dude, what is this? But you have a little bit more stability in the boxing side of things. So how does that kind of like work out with your schedule? Like, you just kind of get a call and you're like, he's fighting again in a week. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, honestly, with D-Rod, it's just he's just one of those guys that's just willing to always fight. Like he's like a UFC matchmaker will call his management calls D-Rod's like, hey, we got you a fight, and D-Rod's like, all right, who is it? And he looks at him, all right, I'm down. Like, he doesn't even this guy doesn't even look at tape. He just he just looks at him like, all right, I'm down, let's go.
That's
he just wants to fight. Yeah.
Keeping an athlete like in shape that's fighting a lot, is that a different approach versus someone, obviously you got the fight camps and maybe they fight 4 times a year and they have that kind of like how the boxing has their schedule, like, because you don't want to like burn someone out, but you also want to be able to peak them.
Absolutely.
So
I actually prefer athletes, like we both prefer athletes that want to train all year round, because that's just better. Because with the system, as you mentioned earlier, it's 3 phases, and we cycle through the system: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Then we have a peaking phase where we kind of deload everything. So we deload a little bit, they get a little bit unconditioned, but that's a part of the process because they should be fighting. Once the fight's done, they take a small little break. After that small break, usually what happens within the 3 phases of training, we call it a super compensation. Super compensation occurs physically. Pretty much the fighter has a baseline physically here, and we both put them here. They fight at that new baseline. They take a week off, 2 weeks off, a little vacation. That baseline drops to here. It's still an improvement here, so they pretty much call it super compensated. So from this point, we start camp again, or they just come back into training again, and we get them to the next point. So when we have a fighter that's literally training all year round, and we organize the training accordingly, we can get a fighter like loads and loads and loads better. I think the best example of that with Miguel's and my fighters within the stable is that when you see our fighters fighting, you'll see some sort of improvement every single time they fight. They'll get a little bit faster. They're going to hit a little bit harder. They're just going to get a little bit better. They're just going to showcase something that's like, oh, whoa, it's like they just got a lot better. It's like from Daniel Rodriguez's fight, short notice, went into 10 means for his debut, just completely dominated. And fast forward to like the Dwight Grant, he showcased the chin, he got knocked down, but he came back, showcased his power. Then we got Jose Zepeda in the boxing side. He was dominating, went to the Ivan fight, got knocked down a few times and knocked him out. Yeah, so there's just
like fight of the year.
Yeah, we have to like progress it. Yeah, that's the system. We want to have a fighter constantly training, and obviously we organize it in a way where they don't get burned out. We give them their recovery, but the whole primary reason is that we want to continually improve them. They're always upgrading. That's the
exactly. Well, yeah, I guess that's the ultimate thing, right? Get that consistency. Lately, I've been thinking, or like, been putting a lot more thought into like the hips and the power of the hips, because whether you're a kickboxer, like a Dutch kickboxer or a Muay Thai fighter, or a box, or you know, whether it's strike, like just hands or any of the limbs, like everything with the hips is so important. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, obviously the flexibility, man, you have to have immense flexibility, but at the same time you have to have the strength. Like, do you treat each like discipline differently when addressing the hips, or is it just power overall and flexibility, mobility, just kind of a baseline across all the martial arts?
We address every individual fighter. We don't really address the individuality of the discipline. If I get one primary jiu-jitsu competitor, one MMA competitor, and one boxing competitor, we do cater the program specifically to what is necessary for each of these competitors, because obviously jiu-jitsu, it's all ground game. Ground game. There is some explosivity, but there's more isometrics, meaning hold, a lot of tension that's being built for a long period of time. Boxing, not really a lot of holding, so there's not a lot of tension, so it's just more ballistic, more speed. So we do cater the program specific to their art or discipline. But the most important part is to cater the program to the individual, because we could have the jiu-jitsu individual and they could come in with tight hips. So, okay, we need to implement some sort of mobility program to loosen up the hips, but making sure his or her hips are strong in new range of motion. We can get a boxer that's just way too flexible, and that's actually an issue. Yes, it is. You can, because of the fact that in order to generate power, there needs to be some margin of stiffness. It's like
it has to reach that.
Right, exactly. So the best example is that if I got a rubber band, if I make it taut, if I make it tight and release it, it's going to snap and it's going to be pretty painful. But if I got a large rubber band and I pull it back just the same amount as the other rubber band, you won't create so much power because it's not taut, it's not tight. So there needs to be some aspect of tightness. Not to say that, skip stretching. You need to stretch. I encourage all my fighters and all of our fighters to stretch. They need to have flexibility, but they need to find that middle ground. It's like you need to have some stiffness, some tightness. That's how you generate force right there. Because we've seen a lot of examples of fighters and athletes. They're hyper flexible, but they're chronically injured. So it's almost like it's one of those, it's like one of those like
catch-22.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how are you always injured when you can like literally bend over backwards and have your head poked through your knees like that? It's like, how are you always hurt? It's because of the fact that they don't have enough tension. It's just too loose. So they need to have like that middle ground right there.
Interesting. Earlier you guys had touched on Logan Paul versus Mayweather. Obviously that had came out and that's been all over everywhere. If you were preparing Logan Paul for this fight, what is it, in February? January?
I think it's in February, yes.
Okay. And you had, that's a good amount of time. You know what I'm saying? What would be your strategy as far as his strength and conditioning regime, because they're athletes. Like both of those brothers are athletes, you know. And okay, talk shit if you want to, but when he went out there for his third fight ever, he looked good. Like if you've ever seen somebody in their third fight, you're like, oh my god, this is like not, you know, third fight ever. You're like, okay, they're not reacting, they're not staying balanced, you know. And yeah, it was sloppy a little bit, but if you look at the ending sequence, like, dude, he's right on top of his feet. He does a little step back and hits him. Like that's like pretty advanced technique for someone that's not a boxer. Right. He's not a boxer, you know. So I don't know, like what would be your plan, knowing that, okay, these are probably like this is an individual you could probably push. They're an athlete, you know, they'll pick it up. Like what would you focus on? Like, I don't know.
Well, within the strength and conditioning side, that's something of a conversation that we have with the coaches. So if it's a boxing coach, if it's a boxing athlete, we need to have a sit-down conversation with the head boxing coach and ask, okay, it's like, what's the game plan? Are you going to utilize more footwork against Mayweather?
It's an exhibition. How many rounds is it? How many? 3 minutes?
It depends on what the contract is.
Yeah.
4 rounds to 6 rounds. And
okay.
The clubs as well.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Dude.
He's bigger, right?
Mayweather's smaller than him, I
smaller.
believe. Yeah. Dude, I heard they might just let him fight at whatever. They're just letting him fight whatever. Yeah, he's a big boy. That's a big boy. So say if it's like 6 2-minute rounds, that's unbelievably long for this fourth fight, but it's an exhibition, so whatever, you know. What if you were preparing him for that, knowing Mayweather's game?
6 2-minute rounds, probably just more like, if I had to do just baseline camp, it would just repeat power ability. So giving Logan the ability to explode for long periods of time, because knowing Mayweather's strategy, he sees a bigger individual in front of him. He's a defensive mastermind, so he's just going to have Logan gas out and just kind of just pummel him. So just with that assumption, okay, we got to make sure Logan doesn't gas out. So that's going to shock Mayweather as another fighter, like, oh, this guy isn't gassing out. So that gives Logan the advantage. So definitely just giving him the ability to explode, which would be phase 3 within your video series. That would be the phase 3 protocol. Just giving him that long-lasting energy to continue to explode every single round, no matter what, any minute. Just explode with combinations.
That's so crazy. That's going to be a wild fight. I mean, I'm sure they'll make the card good, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's like one thing when you were talking about earlier, like the promotional side, what the UFC does so well is it's like an exposure machine.
Yes.
Like literally within a day of fighting, you're like verified, they're pushing you, they make noise for you, you know? And creating that platform is huge. Like sometimes I feel like in the boxing, it's a little bit more traditional. So these are coming from lineages of lines and lines of people and promoters and like this whole legacy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a slow ship to turn in a way. You have people fighting for world championships and no one, you know, they're not verified. They're not. I'm like, okay, you need to make some calls. You need to, you know, you need to delegate some stuff. So, but I think it's a turning point that is starting to pick up in boxing because they see the UFC and Dana White just fucking running the show, you know, as far as stuff like that. And they've always gone back and forth, you know. It's always been drama. But it's good now because I think, you know, a lot of people, there was like that lull. I think Dondo was talking about that earlier, kind of like that lull of the names, but they're starting to grow now. Like we're starting to see good fights. And I think it started with like the Loma Lopez fight. I was like, dude, people are becoming, they've built them up to a certain extent. Everyone's built up to these numbers. They have to fight each other within the next year, 2 years. They have nowhere to go. They have to fight each other. Those are mandatories. That's the kind of cool thing about boxing, maybe. You know, they have to fight people, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting year for combat sports in general.
I think so too. Yes, definitely. Because especially with the pandemic, I mean, with the unfortunate scenario of the whole pandemic, I think really the pandemic really just opened the eyes of the audience and also the fighters. Like, all right, you want to be noticed, you want to be cared for, be present. And be present social media wise, and I discussed this like a little bit ago. Yeah, you gotta be present. You want people to care. You want people to know your name. You want to get that blue check mark next to your Instagram profile. You gotta be present. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely important. Yeah, that's one thing that's that really helps. I feel like even if it's like low numbers but like higher engagement, like if people actually look, we're so bombarded. I don't know if anyone's seen that documentary Social Dilemma, but that was it's like on Netflix. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. Social Dilemma. And it's how like, I don't know, our attention is just it's for sale. That's what's all these little ads, all these little things, you know? And I don't know, sometimes you can't get too immersed in it. You know, you got to find that balance, because I feel like many a fighter, many a person has just kind of, you know, lost themselves in the popularity contest and not doing their job, you know? And that can be all bad for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I always told like the fighters, like, don't be too immersed into social media. It's like, you know, it's like you're in this to be a fighter, not in this to be a model. You're not. I mean, it's nice, but.
And mindset is incredibly important, more so than any other profession, I think, ever. Absolutely. You know? So, I don't know.
All right. So right now we got Adam coming up next. He's our fight analyst. He's going to talk to the guys about fights coming up. He's
giving my picks.
Giving your picks. And big shout out to our viewer, Big Boobs. Thanks for watching. Well, I just noticed Big Boobs is watching our class. It's in a great podcast. Double B.
If you want to bring up the fights for me, Robert. All right. Kicking off this great card this weekend, UFC 256. Feels like we actually just had an already great card with 255. Back to back, actually, with the same guy headlining it. Davison Figueiredo getting right back to work against Brandon Moreno. To kick off the night, we got JDS coming in at a plus 325 underdog versus Cyril Gane, who's coming in at a minus 450 favorite. Personally, I'm taking Cyril Gane on this fight. I think, if I had to take a pick for guys who's going to be heavyweight champion by the end of 2021, I'm taking Cyril Gane, if I'm really honest. Just especially watching his physical attributes. To look like that at the age of 30, having never strengthened conditioned in the entirety of your life, blows the entirety of my mind.
Right.
By the way, and why I'm also so confident in, even though we haven't seen him, obviously due to the pandemic and trying to get someone who's, an up-and-comer, especially these heavyweights, these fights has been a little bit difficult. But now we've seen the guy back in action. But while he's had this time off, he's finally actually strengthened conditioning and somehow even in better condition than he already is naturally. And also, JDS is coming off of 2 knockout losses with this one. It's not that I don't think, or 3? 3, wow. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. I had a little more faith in them. But especially with these heavyweights and the power that they carry, you start to see this where when you see that kind of slowdown and guys that are taking a lot more damage, and you see, especially at these end of these careers, you kind of see like where they're on a momentum and then you see that train instantly stop. And I kind of am feeling like JDS is kind of reaching that kind of end of career point where that train's starting to kind of slow down and he's losing momentum and he's not able to keep up with a lot of these athletic guys. That you look at the 2 guys that knocked him out, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Francis Ngannou, the 2 most athletic guys in the division. And then now you have another even of a more athletic, even faster guy who's also a former, I believe, kickboxing champion, glory kickboxing champion, I want to say. So it's just not looking good for JDS. I'm taking Cyril Gane on this one. He's on the come up. I'd love to hear your opinion on it, especially having more of a boxing background and also with strength conditioning. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Only because of the fact that with Junior Dos Santos, we've also really delved into like the whole neuroscience of everything. So with the whole aspects of concussions, when concussions occur, that's trauma to the brain. And when there's trauma to the brain, we see like nerve endings that's surrounded by myelin. Myelin is just a sheath that helps really just patternize fighters to be able to throw combinations confidently and automatically. This is something in which they go autopilot. When they get clipped, you see them dazed, but you see them just go on autopilot and continue fighting back. And when they get interviewed, it's like, oh yeah, I don't even remember what I just did in there, but I won. But it's because of the fact that they've been conditioned for so long. But because of concussion after concussion after concussion, we see this myelin surrounded by the nerve. It gets destroyed. So when they get destroyed, you can only imagine more trauma to the brain. The patternization won't be on autopilot anymore. What's there left? If there's no more autopilot, turn off. And another knockout.
And then also, too, it's like you have a guy whose ceiling we don't even know yet. And like I said, JDS, we've seen the best of JDS. He's not getting better. And so, what are you thinking, Mag?
Likewise.
I know. Like after that, I was just like,
I can't top that.
I was like,
won't
damn,
even try.
I'm taking what Andy said over even what I said.
I'm right behind him.
A 3-round fight, yeah.
Hey, JDS could go bet on him too.
Yeah, but also Cyril Gagne, we've seen get better every fight, and also for a guy that's coming off of the striking background, he also has a heel hook submission, and his skills are getting a lot better. Again, this isn't. I like JDS. This isn't looking good for him. This is not this is not a good. I don't know who matched this up, to be honest, a little bit. And but moving on to Jacare Souza versus Kevin Trailblazer Holland. Ronaldo coming in at a plus 110 underdog. Holland capping out of the year. I believe this is his fourth fight.
Fourth fight.
Fifth.
Oh, is it
Fifth fight. Yep. Holland's taken away. Obviously, he's coming in as the favorite, along with that momentum. And on top of it, too, I believe in this year alone, he's taken away $100K in win bonuses. Not only is he becoming one of my more favorite prospects in the middleweight division, he's becoming one of my more favorite prospects just to watch in general. The guy talks well. He fights well. Exciting style. He makes you interested. Actually, what most people forget on the Joaquin Buckley hype, everybody remembers that crazy knockout, but when nobody remembers about is Joaquin's debut, where he was getting knocked out by Kevin Holland with a straight right down the pipe. Kevin Holland is one of those kind of deceiving frames, I would say, especially in MMA, to where he carries a lot of explosiveness, especially like in those first kind of couple of rounds. You kind of see him with that unorthodox like karate background converted to kind of kickboxing style. You see him exploding, throwing strikes. He could be throwing knees, he's throwing side kicks, and the entire time he's talking shit into your face and he's frustrating those fighters. And I really like what he brings in the cage, because not only is he just, he has great physical qualities, he knows how to play that mental game and keep calm. You could even see it with Darren Stewart. You even kind of see like Darren Stewart come out of his character yelling at him, "Come on, Kev! Come on! Come on, Kev!" Like yelling in the middle of a fight. So I'm taking Kevin Holland on this one just because of the momentum. If it does go to the ground, obviously Jacare has the advantage. But I believe he's 40 years old. He's he's coming back down to middleweight from 205. I think if Jacare is going to catch him, it's going to be in the early rounds, and especially using his guard work. But I think Kevin Holland is going to take this one. He's going to close the year out with 5 wins.
Yeah, I think.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Holland is going to take this one. It's interesting too because Kevin Holland was originally scheduled to fight D-Rod really early within this. Yes, but Holland had to pull out because of a shoulder injury. And
that would have been fun to watch.
Yeah, that would have been.
Listen, those two chirp at each other.
Oh. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I definitely take Holland on this one. Like you said, he's one of those interesting strikers. He has an interesting frame, his limb length, and just a very mixed striking ability. It's gonna
and probably a varied background, because I believe what his background was actually like. He walked into like a community center. He saw the guy was like a martial arts instructor. He's like, "This is cool. I'm gonna do this." like the rest of us do. You walk into a gym one day, you're like, "This is cool. I'm gonna do this." Right. What are you thinking, Mag?
Well, yeah, with Kevin Holland, we studied a lot of his film because of the D-Rod fight. So we got to see a lot of his specialties, a lot of his flaws also. But with Jacare, I mean, I would love to see him take it to the ground and see what he could still do. But
that's the thing. It's like you could see with Thiago Santos though, that fight with Kevin Holland, he kept up with him in every grappling exchange. He was even attacking Thiago, and Thiago was a good level black belt, I believe.
The last time I was on here, I counted the old guy out with Arlovsky, and he ended up winning. So I'm gonna give Jacare a chance.
Don't worry, I make that same mistake every week. All right, moving on. Another exciting fight, Renato Moicano. Surprisingly to me at least, a plus 130 underdog against, we're going to try my best, Rafael Fiziev? We're going with Fiziev. Coming in at a minus 160 favorite. Renato Moicano, I would say is the more experienced MMA fighter, even though, like, Rafael is a very, very accomplished Muay Thai fighter, and I believe actually Peter Yan's striking coach. And I believe, he has that one famous highlight where I believe you see Mark Diakese throwing that, I think it's literally a body kick, and you see him literally matrix slide out of the way, diving backwards. Yeah. And you see him with that varied striking skills. Like, there's not much, like, within the striking arts that I really haven't seen this guy do. I do think if Renato takes us to the ground, he's going to have the advantage. And also, this is his second fight at lightweight, and I think Renato is one of those fighters that is very talented, but because of that weight cut to 145, and especially with his frame, he's a good-sized dude. I think he was really suffering his performances, but when you saw him come out at lightweight, he's having a first-round finishes with a very, very strong back take and a very, very rear naked choke. I'm really hoping he takes it to the ground, and I'm really taking Renato on this one to take it to the ground and submit him, just because I don't. He's a multiple world time champion, and it's not that Renato can't get it done on the feet. We've seen Renato get stopped, and we've also seen Renato get a little bit wild at times. So, but I do think he's going to come in with the smarter game plan, and also with having that better gas tank and not feeling that weight cut and that hydration of loss from the night before is really going to make a difference. And like I said, I think he's going to really just this fight's going to end in a rear naked choke Renato Moicano's way. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Renato too. I really like him with the fact that I think he's going to come in with the better conditioning. I think it's going to be more. I want to see him more polished up. And like you said, he comes in a little bit more wild, but I think it's going to be standing. I think there's going to be more of a stand-up war. But I mean, we'll see. It could actually go into the ground, but I want to say it's going to go more. I want to say he's going to come in polished just to prove a point.
That's what I'm thinking too, especially because he has to really establish himself at lightweight, and I really think he can be a contender.
Yes.
And he's only 30 years old. He's in the prime of his career.
Yes.
What are you thinking, Mag?
As touching on that, on Renato wanting to make a point, I think he's going to want to really stand up with this guy. He's going to stand up with the Muay Thai guy and prove a point and silence the critics, He's going to want to go ahead and make that happen. And if he takes it to the ground, then, I mean, it's all for him right there, too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, moving on to the very exciting co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Oh, wait, hold on. Fran has to counteract my point.
Okay. So
how am I wrong, Fran?
I'm going with Fiziev. The reason being, okay, when you look at Moicano's losses, right, he loses against dynamic strikers that use everything. Like back in the day, he fought Calvin Kattar, right, who's primarily a boxing base, very heavy, but he has a boxing range. He doesn't really use kicks that much. And Moicano was able to shut him down with leg kicks and got the unanimous decision. Fought Cub Swanson, pretty good like on all sides, won that fight. And then he faced, I think it was, Jose Aldo, got stopped by him, and then faced the Korean Zombie and got stopped by him. Those are dynamic strikers. Those are legit.
Well, the problem with Renato, and I think in those exchanges too, is like Renato, he's willing to exchange, and so he'll kind of get baited into certain things.
Yeah.
Of like specifically that Aldo. What dropped him was a body shot, and Aldo, we've seen him drop Jeremy Stevens as well. And but he would get him to come in and get him to chase after him and get him to set up certain things, and that's where you see Renato kind of get caught. I'm hoping Renato recognizes that, and also again, like we're saying, he has to put that stamp on it and recognizes this guy's coming in with a big striking background, but if I can take him into the deep waters of where he's uncomfortable, especially grappling wise, I think that's where he can shine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, okay, Moicano's a counter striker, right? So as far as volume, like Fiziev is very aggressive. If you're going just based off of the decision, he has the most volume as far as that. I think that Fiziev is one of the most dynamic strikers we've seen in the UFC. Like his striking patterns, no one's been able to figure that out. And he's fast, and his wrestling, his defensive wrestling is on point. We haven't seen him flat out on his back, but his defensive wrestling, like as far as, Greco-Roman is like upper body, right? Dude, I don't know what he's been doing, but he's strong, man. He was like ragdolling his last two people around, you know?
Before within the hips, like he has a naturally strong hips and knows how to move under that.
Exactly.
But the problem is if it does hit the ground, or let's say he gets him against this cage, and we're now seeing it on the ground, and we actually see his actual jiu-jitsu. I think that is where you're going to see Rafael's MMA inexperience come into play.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think if Moicano can, for lack of a better term, stop fucking around and do what he did in his last fight, which is go out, get the takedown, and submit motherfuckers, you got to do that. You can't. If he plays with this dude, he's going to get knocked out. It's
a guarantee.
This dude is good. He's very good, and that's if you can get him to the ground, you know? So, I don't know. I kind of agree with that line. I agree with the line of Moicano being the underdog here. But
it's definitely one of those that if you
he has a lot
Moicano,
to prove,
you can definitely make some money
he's
off of.
very experienced. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next one with this very exciting co-main event of Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson coming in the minus 175 favorite. Charles Oliveira, the plus 145 underdog. I'm taking Tony Ferguson on this fight. Just that it's not that Charles Oliveira is a bad fighter. It's that the fact that Tony is so unpredictable. He's crazy. Basically, Tony's so unpredictably and crazy, but also on top of that has such a dynamic and wide range of a skill set in terms of just martial arts and striking, ground, wrestling ability. It's so confusing. It's how do you even prepare for that? Like 1 minute Tony's doing like Muay Thai, the next minute he's doing Wing Chun. Next thing you know, he's doing like all these different martial arts you never even heard of. Once he's making up on the spot and that snap jitsu on top of it too. Like you don't know what Tony's gonna do. And it's not that Charles Oliveira is a bad fighter. I just think that he's so stuck in his very especially in his striking, like his very stand up, like stiff kind of Muay Thai style, but feels confident enough that when he hits the ground, being a high-level jiu-jitsu player, having that offense and defense, the one thing I hope he doesn't do is that he gets a little bit overconfident, especially in his own abilities against a guy like Tony, because you don't know what that chaos and unpredictability is going to come at you, and you just can't prepare for that. And like we always say, it's always the shots you don't see. And Tony has like 15 different shots you don't see from 8 different angles. And so I'm going with Tony Ferguson on this one. I'm taking crazy, and especially after the Justin Gaethje's loss, I've never seen Tony more motivated in my life, surprisingly somehow. And like I said, the only guy he's lost to in like years was Justin Gaethje of all people. So I'm going Tony.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tony too because he just can't stop crazy.
You can't.
Literally.
You cannot. Shout out to Joe Schilling. You can't stop crazy. You can't stop crazy.
And he is right.
Mag.
Tony Ferguson, it's the unpredictability and the fact that he's motivated, especially since Khabib is gone.
Yeah.
He definitely wants his shot now.
He earns it.
He wants that shot.
He has earned it again. A long time ago.
It's gonna be Conor and Poirier. I think it'd be really good to have Gaethje and Tony again, make that happen one more time, and then the winners of each go ahead and find each other. Yeah.
I dig it. Yep. I dig that style. All right, moving on. A very exciting main event. 2 guys who were just fighting like not even a month ago. Deiveson Figueiredo coming in at a minus 335 favorite versus Brandon Moreno, the plus 255 underdog. I'm taking Deiveson Figueiredo just due to that striking style and due to him being a counter puncher. And it's not that Brandon Moreno's striking skills hasn't got better. We've obviously seen Brandon Moreno get better, especially as his career is going on. But you can kind of see in certain fights of where he'll kind of come out with that Mexican brawler style of trying to take your head off. And Deiveson Figueiredo with one of his, one of the best skills I've seen, especially recently, of where he sits at a long range with his hands down, trying to counterpunch you and bait you in. And every time you're throwing a punch, because you're at full range, he can fully see it and he's moving out of the way. And that's where he's coming on top with that, that big power, especially being bigger for the weight class. I do think if it does go to the ground, honestly, I might take Moreno. I don't know why. I just kind of have a hunch. I feel like his wrestling and his overall grappling ability is a little bit more fleshed out. I think Deiveson is a little bit relies on jiu-jitsu a little bit too much and kind of get lazy, especially in the wrestling department. Even though his jiu-jitsu will save him and kind of like compensate for that kind of lack of wrestling, I think if it does go to the ground, it's Moreno's fight. But I really see Deiveson Figueiredo taking this one and really kind of baiting Brandon into a brawl. And honestly this ending in a counterpunch.
All right. Yeah, I agree with that. I have Davison with this too. He's just a really big individual. So even just the effort to put him to the floor, it's going to be a bit hard. And his style being just more of a reachy fighter, it's not going to be that easy to kind of get inside with him. So I definitely take Davison.
What are you thinking, Mag?
The style is definitely going to make for a great fight. I definitely see Moreno pressing the issue, and then Figueiredo, of course, wanting to step back and be the counterpuncher. So it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very exciting to see who sets the pace, who holds it, and see where the fight goes. But I'm going to go with Figueiredo.
All right.
Sweet. So this has been a great show. So where can they actually find you guys on your social medias? Mac.
Yeah, go ahead and follow the team's Instagram at Mac_performance. Go ahead and check out our YouTube channel, Mac Performance and MMA. Go ahead and be updated on everything that we're doing.
Andy.
You can follow me on Instagram at _Elite Smith.
Where can they find you on your social media?
V12 DADON .MMA, and the same thing on YouTube.
And then Silent Bob, where can they find you?
You can find me at The Real Beast Boy Morales.
Francesca, where can they find you? And you can find me at Joey the Bull, all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Grindr, all that crazy mess. This has been, once again, a great show, folks. Please subscribe to Free Admissions Gym Crashers. Please check out Our Life CBD, Always Ready Meals. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
That was a good one.